Do you have to close my lower button? Just tell me. Show wide to me, wide. Wide. Okay, no? Belt is in, no problem. Only my shirt and my tie should not be seen. Okay, no? Belt is no problem. Belt is in is not a problem. Tie should not be seen, number one. And shirt. Not. Can you show me the mashallah? Center? It's correct? The center, no? Yes. It's not focused. Now it's focused. So it's not, this. Okay, show the mid. This, and a little bit, okay, it has to come. You cannot expect without wrinkle. Not too much. Without wrinkle is not possible only, it's impossible. Now there is no wrinkle. Okay, so the wide. See, there comes a little bit, okay, you cannot help it. Because you do something, it will keep on coming. You understand, no? Yeah, I'm sitting, so. If my thing is seen, just put a charter that this is in my tab. Tab will not be seen, but if it's. See, this is okay a little bit. You understand, no? Okay. You can't help it, no? It's only seen white. Yes. Show the close. See, close, it shouldn't see. There's nothing seen in the close. Okay, show the mid. See, mid also nothing is there. Okay.
The tie is okay and white?
Yes, I can put the mic mount option. Okay, we can start. It's fine, it's fine.
Yes. Ready?
Okay, start the countdown, okay.
Ready?
I think the camera is too much on top. Can you put the camera a little down, the mid camera? Mid. Mid, not that mid. Show the close, other. Correct, perfect. Close also, can you put a little bit down? Close is fine, Show the mid. Mid is fine now. Wide? Okay, fine. Start. 5. Okay, now press.
Count down. 5, 4, 3.
Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa man ahsanu qawlan mimman da'a ila Allahi wa amila salihan wa qala innani minal muslimin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. I welcome all the viewers of the Peace TV network, the Peace TV English, the Peace TV Urdu, the Peace TV Bangla, and the Peace TV Chinese, as well as my social media platforms, which are the Facebook, the YouTube, the Instagram, and the Twitter, as well as the Al Hidayah platform. I welcome all the viewers with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I welcome you to this program, Ask Dr. Zakir, Season 8, Session 5. Here you are most welcome to ask any questions on Islam and comparative religion, or any question which a non-Muslim may have posed and you are unable to reply, or any question or query that you find on the media regarding Islam. This is your opportunity. You can ask your question on any of my social media platforms, but the best would be to ask on the Al Hidayah platform as a subscriber. And the second best would be to ask as a text message on the WhatsApp. You're most welcome to mention your question briefly, along with mentioning your name, your profession, your city and country of origin as a text message to the WhatsApp number +60 1121 333360. I repeat, +60 1121 333360. And as I said earlier, the highest chances that a question would be answered is if you ask as a subscriber on the Al-Hidayah, then it would be as a question, as a text message on the WhatsApp, and then it would be YouTube and Facebook. Normally, out of 30 or 40 questions that are asked on the Al-Hidayah platform, one is answered. On the WhatsApp, every week we receive about somewhere close to 4,000 or 5,000 questions, out of which 10 are picked up from the WhatsApp, 10, 11 or 12. And from the YouTube, there are about more than 5,000-10,000 questions that's asked, of which about 2 or 3 are answered. And similarly on the Facebook, there are about more than 10,000 questions asked, from which about 1 or 2 is picked up. So the maximum chance, percentage-wise, that a question would be answered first is as a subscriber on the Al-Hidayah platform. Next is as a text message, the question is asked on the WhatsApp, and then YouTube, and then Facebook. First, we'll take a question from the Al-Hidayah platform. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Virashappa, a reverted Muslim and a hospital attendant from Karnataka, India. He is giving a quotation of the Quran. And those who strive in our cause, we will certainly guide them to our paths. For verily Allah is with those who do right. That is Surah Ankabut, chapter 29, verse 69. And his question is, how to seek the pleasure of Allah? How will be our intentions in doing ibadah in different moments of our daily life? May Allah bless you and reward you. Ameen. Please do dua for me to lead my life on obeying Allah and obeying our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jazakallahu khairan. I am a subscriber of Al-Hidayah. Alhamdulillah. Brother Virashappa is a reverent Muslim and a subscriber on the Al-Hidayah platform, and he's asked me to do dua for him. Inshallah, I do dua that you come closer and closer to Allah and His Messenger, and come closer to Islam, and may your practice increase, and inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you Jannat al-Firdaus. Brother Virashappa quoted a verse of the Quran from Surah Ankabut, chapter number 29, verse number 69, which says that those who strive in our path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He will open up their pathways. This is a very important verse of the Quran which shows you how to get success. And it says that anyone who strives in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will open up his pathways. So if you strive, you have to get success. If you do not get success, that means there is a problem. Maybe your striving is not correct, it is not in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or your striving is not sufficient. If you strive in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you strive with proper intention and intensity, you have to get success. It's a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't get success, Allah is not to blame, but you are to blame. This is a very important formula that is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the glorious Quran, in Surah Ankabut, chapter number 29, verse number 69. So any good work you do, if you strive in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you strive hard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to give you success. The question posed by Brother Virashappa is that how do we do our daily ibadah? What are the different forms and how do we get success? But natural, the first deed that will be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment is our salah. The 5 basic pillars, number 1 consists of Tawheed. That is believing in one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and believing the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the messenger of Allah, and you do not associate anyone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Most important is Tawheed, then is Salah. Then is Zakat, the obligatory charity. Then it is fasting in the month of Ramadan and performing Hajj if Allah has given you the health and the means. As far as ibadah in our daily life is concerned, the first deed that will be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment is Salah. And our beloved Prophet said, it's mentioned in Sahih Muslim, that the difference between kufr and iman is Salah. The most important ibadah after Tawheed in terms of deed, it is Salah. And we know that there is compulsory 5 obligatory Salah. That is the Fajr, the Dhuhr, the Asr, the Maghrib, and the Isha. And but natural, the question posed by Varashapada, which are the different types of ibadah and how do you get success? There's a lecture of mine given by the topic Salah, the programming towards righteousness, which shows you how can you concentrate better in your Salah. It's a talk of more than 1 hour. With the question and answer session, it's about 3 hours. So you do watch this program. It will show you the various methodology and how can you attain khushu. When you offer Salah, the most important factor is the khushu that you attain. If you attain the higher khushu you attain in Salah, the more you'll get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And besides the 5 times Salah, the most important Salah after the obligatory Salah is the Qiyamul Layl, is the Witr. Witr along with the Tahajjud or the Qiyamul Layl. And the Prophet offered 8 rakat Qiyamul Layl every day along with 3 rakat Witr, that is 11 rakat. So these rakat of Qiyamul Layl are the most important, the Witr and the Tahajjud after the 5 compulsory Salah. And the best time to offer is towards the last 1/3 of the night, or maybe 1 hour before the time for Fajr or 2 hours before the time of Fajr, depending how long is your Qiyam. And after that are the 8 rakat of Sunnat Muaqqada, that is 2 rakat before the Fajr Salah, 2 plus 2, 4 rakat before the Dhuhr Salah, 2 rakat after the Dhuhr Salah, 2 rakat after the Maghrib Salah, and 2 rakat after the Isha Salah. So there are total 12 Sunnah which are al-Muaqqada, which are the highly recommended Sunnah. So besides the Qiyamul Layl and the Sunnah Muaqqada is the Salatul Duha, in which you can offer 4 rakat, you can 2 or anything above 2. The Prophet usually offered 4 rakat. Salatul Duha anytime between after the sunrise to before the sun reaches its highest point. The other Salah are the Sunnat Ghayar Muaqqada, which are the 8 rakat Salah. 2 rakat after the Dhuhr Salah, 2 plus 2, 4 rakat before the Asr Salah, 2 rakat before the Maghrib Salah, and 2 rakat before the Isha Salah. So total there are 10 rakah of Sunnat Ghayar Muaqqada. So these, as far as the Salah are concerned, you can offer more Nafil Salah. And as far as the Ibadah is concerned, the prayers are very important. The dua is very important. And the recommended duas are the dua that you do in the morning Adhkar and the evening Adhkar, the Adhkar that you do after your 5 Salah, the Adhkar that you can do in your Qiyamul Layl, in your Sujood, and the Adhkar that you do on Friday 1 hour before the Maghrib time. So Adhkar are very important, and the daily Adhkar of your actions. So all these come under Ibadah. In short, if you want to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best formula is that you read the Quran with translation. Read the Quran with understanding and implement on the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You read the life of the Prophet Muhammad and read the hadith, the various sayings and actions of the Prophet, and implement on it. This is the best formula to come closer to Allah and His Rasul. And I do dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may He accept your efforts and may He guide you more closer to Him, and may He grant you Jannat al-Firdaus al-Ala, the highest level of paradise. The next question is from WhatsApp. I am Dr. Sahil from Srinagar, India. Is it permissible for a Muslim male doctor to take up obstetrics and gynecology as a specialty and hence practice as obstetrician and gynecologist in future? Please answer my query. I have to take a decision on it soon during my choice filling after passing my entrance exam. Dr. Sahil has asked the question that can a Muslim male become an obstetrician and a gynecologist? This is a medical doctor who specialized in treating the problems and the ailments and the disease of the woman, including pregnancy. So this obstetrician and gynecologist is a specialist who treats the problems and diseases of a woman, including the part of pregnancy. So the question is that can a Muslim male become an obstetrician or a gynecologist? And the same question was asked to Sheikh bin Baz and the Council of Fatwa. And the reply given was that if in this profession of being a gynecologist, a doctor has to normally see the aura of the woman and see the private parts of a woman. So that's the reason there are conditions required that if in your city there are no female obstetrician and gynecologists, then it is permissible. But if there are other ladies and women who are obstetricians and gynecologists, then it is prohibited for a Muslim man to become an obstetrician and a gynecologist. The reason is because why should a male unnecessarily look at the aura and the private part of a woman? And this specialty is mainly dealing with the disease of the woman and the private parts of the woman. And when pregnancy takes place, but naturally the aura is exposed and the baby comes out from the vagina. So unnecessarily, why should a male go out of the way to look at the private parts of the woman? So here the fatwa given is that if there are lady and woman obstetrician and gynecologists available, then the Muslim man should not take up this profession. If there is no woman who have taken up this profession, or there is very few, and if the requirement is there, then under these circumstances, it is a special permission. And in these rare cases, it is permitted for a Muslim man to become an obstetrician or a gynecologist. As far as Dr. Sahil has asked me this question, that I'm sure that today, in most parts of the world, in most of the cities of the world, there are female doctors who are obstetricians and who are gynecologists. So I personally would not recommend him to take up this post-graduation, unless if he's living in that area where there are no female doctors who are obstetrician and gynecologists, then that's an exception to the rule. But generally, why should a Muslim man take up a profession? Being a normal doctor, being a heart specialist, being a kidney specialist, being a brain specialist, at that time the women patients come, and at that time certain parts of the woman aura are seen, that's acceptable. But this is specialized only for the woman disease and specialized in while delivering the babies or during pregnancy. So my recommendation and the recommendation of scholars is that you should avoid, unless you're living in a particular city where there is lack of females who have taken this profession. It's better that you take or do post-graduation in some other medical field. Hope that answers the question. The next question from Assalamu alaikum, walaikum assalam. Dr. Mahmood Sani. I am a doctor from Bangladesh working in a diagnostic center where most of the patients are poor, but the authorities want me to give at least some tests, even if I surely can tell he or she doesn't have that disease. Is it halal? Dr. Mahmood Sani from Bangladesh asked a question that is working in a diagnostic center and he's a doctor, and the owners of this diagnostic center have requested him that whenever he sees patient, he should advise them to do some test, irrespective whether the test is required or not, so that the diagnostic center benefits, they make profit. Is it permissible? As far as Islam is concerned, if a doctor unnecessarily requests the patient or asks the patient to do tests which are not required, knowing very well it will not benefit and the test is not required, this is haram. Irrespective, even though Islam says it's haram, even the medical profession, in the medical profession, according to ethical practice, it is forbidden for any doctor to unnecessarily ask the patient to do tests just because they want some monetary benefits. So according to me, it is haram, and no doctor, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, should request the patient to do unnecessary tests just because for their small benefit. They may benefit maybe 20% of the amount taken or 30% of the amount taken, and the poor patient, he has to bear the brunt, he has to pay unnecessary money, he doesn't know whether it's required or not. It is nothing but a fraud, it's nothing but cheating, and this is prohibited, and in Islam, it will come as a major sin. Hope that answers the question. On the Facebook, you have Rahul Hussain, Rajib Hussain. I'm from India. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Wa alaikum salam. Igul Jemri, Umar Hussain, Ayaz Ahmed, Muhammad Mahmood. Salam, I'm watching you from New York City, Bronx. Rajput Ahmed, Dua ki darkast, is requesting me to pray for him, and I pray for all of you. Muhammad Musharraf Talukdar, Abu Huraira, Mufijul Islam, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. Muhammad Jairul Islam, Muhammad Yasin Ahmad, love you, I love you too. Mikasa, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. Muhammad Farooq, love you from Pakistan, I love you too. Zelani Khan, Maruf Islam, Asadul Zaman Asad, Abdul Zazai, Mumtaz Ali Lund, mashallah, Nadeem Malik, Azizur Rahman, Ayaz Khan, Shazia Atif, Asma Akhtar Jakia, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. Most of them are saying salam, they're doing du'as for me. Wa alaikum salam to you, and I do du'as for you too. On the YouTube, you have Humayu Ahmad, Aman Haidari, Marufa Mim, Amar Ihab, Maqsood Ansari, protagonist Sheikh Arfat, Aneeb, Alia Ali, Halim, Rida Sokhal, Muhammad Maun, Sheikh Shafiuddin, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. Aneeb, There's a question asked on the YouTube. BD Muslim Life in Canada. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Can I wear burqa and niqab of different colors other than black? Like combination of red and black or blue and black like this. The question posed by the sister is that can she wear burqa, that is hijab, or niqab, which is color other than black? Can she wear a combination of black and blue or black and red? You are permitted to wear any color. There's no restriction, but the color should not be too fluorescent, should not be too glamorous, should not be too attractive. Otherwise, any color is permissible regarding a question. But most of the people, they wear black because black gets less dirty. So if you wear a black burqa or a hijab or a niqab, maybe you can wear the same for a couple of weeks without getting dirty. If you wear a light color, it will get dirty. But wearing any color is permitted, but most common color is black. Yes, you can wear a combination of black and blue or a black and red, as long as it's not too glittery, it's not too fluorescent, it's not unnecessary catching attention. Otherwise, any color is permissible. There was a question from the YouTube. Now I'll take question from the WhatsApp. The next question is from Moinuddin Pathan from India. Sheikh, can we meme using your image? The question asked by Moinuddin Pathan from India is that, Sheikh, can we meme using your image? The spelling of the word is M-E-M-E. It's pronounced as meme, M-E-E-M, but the spelling is M-E-M-E. It's not pronounced as meme or meme. The right pronunciation is a meme. This word meme was first coined by Richard Dawkins in his book, The Selfish Gene, in 1976. The meaning of meme is that when a particular type of culture or a particular type of nature is transmitted from one individual to another individual using imitation or any non-genetical means. And in today's world, meme is also an image, a video, or a text which is hilarious and used or sent on the internet, which becomes viral and rapidly spreads maybe through a social media. So nowadays the meme is used like an image or a video or a text message which is hilarious, which is maybe a joke or hilarious and tries to make fun. So the question posed is that can we use an image or a video or a text of me or anyone else? Is it permissible while you want to use a hilarious, you want to spread the message? And normally today social media is very common, so social media is used to spread this meme rapidly on the internet. First, let's understand that as far as joking is concerned, what is the ruling of Islam? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the glorious Quran, in Surah Hujurat, chapter number 49, verse number 11 and 12, that let not some men of you laugh at the others. You may never know that the latter may be better than the former. Let not some women amongst you laugh at the others. You may never know that the latter may be better than the former. That means Quran prohibits one group of men laughing at the other group of men. And the Quran says you may never know that the latter group on whom there is laughter may be better than the former group who is laughing at the others. And the verse continues that let not one group of women laugh at the other. You may never know that the latter may be better than the former. That means the group of women which are laughed at may be better than the group of women who are laughing at them. And the verse continues that do not use offensive nicknames. Do not call one another with offensive nicknames. It is a sin. And the next verse of Surah Hujurat, chapter 49, verse number 12 says that do not spy on one another. In many cases, spying is a sin. Do not backbite. Are you ready to eat the flesh of your dead brother? Nay, you would abhor it. So here the Quran says that laughing at others is a sin. Calling each other with offensive nickname is a sin. You should not spy on one another. In many cases, it's a sin. Do not backbite. It's as though you're eating the meat of a dead brother and you'd abhor it. So based on this, you have to be careful as far as joking is concerned. If the joking is making fun at somebody else, calling them a nickname, if it's a beautiful nickname, like for example, Abu Huraira, the father of the cat, it's a beautiful nickname. If you give nickname to people who are beautiful and people love it and you're elevating them, no problem. But if you give them nicknames which are offensive, like some people call Kalia, means a black person or a dark person or a nigger, if you're giving offensive nickname, it is prohibited, it's a sin in Islam. When you are laughing and joking at someone else, this is also not permitted. And this is a verse of the Quran. Furthermore, Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Tawbah, chapter number 9, verse number 65 and 66. Verse number 64 says, as far as hypocrites are concerned, when they speak, and verse number 65 says that they say that they are joking and they are saying out of jest. And the verse continues that is it you are talking about Allah, His signs and His messenger? If you mock at Allah and His signs and His messenger, it's a grave sin. So the Quran is very clear cut. And the Quran continues in verse number 66 that if you do this after you have faith, then it is a major sin, it is kufr. So if you are laughing, especially if the laughter and the joke is involving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and involving His signs or involving the Quran or our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is kufr. And Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said that anyone who jokes and laughs at Allah and His messenger or His signs or the Quran, it is kufr, it is a major sin. And it is prohibited. And the same thing was said by Sheikh Muhammad Salih Uthaymeen, that if you joke and if you laugh and you involve Islam in it, it is prohibited. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said, even if you laugh and make a joke of the sunnah of the Prophet regarding the beard or regarding covering the head or wearing trousers above the ankle, it is kufr and it's a major sin. So you have to be careful as far as when you laugh and when you joke, you should be careful. And there is a clear-cut hadith given in Sunan Abu Dawud, volume number 5, hadith number 4990, that our beloved Prophet ﷺ said that anyone who lies and makes people to laugh, woe on him. The Prophet said, woe on the person who lies to make people laugh. Woe on him, woe on him. That means it is not allowed that when you make people laugh, you use deceit or you use lie. This is common, that when people make others laugh, they lie, they say things which are wrong. So joking per se is not prohibited in Islam, but you have to be careful that it should not break any of the rules of the Islamic Sharia. And it should not use any lie, and it should not be used at poking fun at others, poking fun at others. So regarding the question, is meme allowed? Or can you use my image for meme? As long as you see to it that you don't involve any haram activity in it, whether you're using my image or any other image or any other video, see to it that you are not breaking any rule of the Sharia, see to it you're not lying, you're not poking fun at others. And if you're using for Islam, you have to be extra careful. Because if by mistake you joke about Islam or Allah or His Rasul, you will be doing a major sin, it is kufr. And unfortunately, you find there are some social media platforms, there are many channels on the YouTube which are run by Muslims, which use meme and use videos, which use images, which use text, and they use laughter and joking to explain Islam. Some of them may be fine, but some of them may be wrong. The intention may be good, but indirectly, while using laughter and joking to promote Islam, they may even be degrading Islam. So it's a very thin line, you have to be careful. Unless you're sure that it is not breaking any rule of the Sharia, please avoid using joking and laughter to promote Islam. Unless you're sure. If you're sure, there is no problem. And secondly, don't use meme even if it's non-Islamic topic, as long as you should not poke fun at others and you should not use lie and deceit in it. If you're sure that you're not using lie and deceit, if you're not poking fun at others and you're careful not to malign Islam, it is okay. Otherwise, you have to stay away from it. Hope that answers the question. The next question. Sir, Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Javed Ahmad from Pakistan. In one of your replies, you had said that if you are busy enough and can't look after your old parents by yourself, then you can keep a servant for them. So what is the Islamic ruling on old age homes? If they provide all facilities in the best possible ways? Thanks. Brother Javed has asked a question quoting one of my answers, saying that I said that if you are busy and you can't take care of your parents, you can keep a servant. So he's using this analogy. That means you can even put your parents in old age homes which has got good facilities. This analogy is totally wrong, and even you are quoting me out of context. Yes, I did say that if you are busy, but it was in context, that to take extra care of the parent, you can appoint servants, but that in no way does it mean that old age home is permitted. Old age home, as far as Islam is concerned, it is prohibited. It is not permitted. Old age homes are not part of Islam, it's a part of the Western culture. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very clear in the Quran. In Surah Luqman, chapter number 31, verse number 14, where Allah says, we have enjoined on the human beings to be kind to the parents. In travail upon travail did the mother bore them, and in pain and in years twain was the weaning. A similar message is repeated in Surah Ahqaf, chapter number 46, verse number 15. We have enjoined on the human beings to be kind to the parents. In pain did the mother bear them, and in pain did she give them birth. There are various verses of the Quran which talk about respect and kindness towards your parent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala further says in Surah Isra, chapter number 17, verse number 23 and 24, that we have ordained that you worship none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that you be kind to your parents. And if one of them or both of them reach old age, do not say a word of contempt. Don't say uff to them, and address them with honor. And lower to them your wing of humility, and pray to the Lord, my Lord, have mercy on them, as they cherish me in childhood. So in Islam, after worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after Tawheed, Allah says in the Quran, you have to be kind and good to your parents. And if one of them or both of them reach old age, don't say off to them. And lower to them your wing of humility, and address them with honor, and pray to the Lord, that my Lord, have mercy on them, as they cherish me in childhood. There are several verses in the Quran and several ahadith which gives the importance of respecting your parents. And the beloved Prophet said that paradise lies beneath the feet of your mother. And the Prophet also said that father is your door to heaven. So all these verses are very clear cut that it is the duty of the parents, it is the duty of the children to look after their parents, especially during their old age. The parents, they look after the children when they are young, when they are children, when they are infants, when they grow up. And when the children become adults, it's their duty that they should give comfort, care, kindness and love to the parents. Especially when they reach old age, you have to be extra merciful, extra kind and extra caring to them. Yes, in a question asked to me, I did say that as far as the duties of the children are concerned, it is the duty of all the children to look after their parents. The sons as well as the daughters. There can be an exception case that if a married daughter, the husband is not giving her permission and saying that you stay in the house, look after the children, etc. In this extreme cases, but natural, the obedience for a married woman towards the husband is more than the parent. But a good Muslim husband would never prevent his wife to take care of her parents. A husband who may not be a good practicing Muslim may do that, but generally a good Muslim husband would never prevent his wife from taking care of the parent. So it is the duty of both male as well as the female children, the son as well as the daughter, to look after the parents. But natural, because the sons are the qawwam and they are the head of their family. After the children are married, the son has more freedom to look after the parents, because the parents will live in the home, in their own home, along with the sons. So they have a bigger responsibility, but both the children, the son and the daughter, should take care, and it is compulsory they should take care, unless on certain conditions where I said that a married daughter, the husband is not giving permission, he's not a good Muslim, etc. Now coming to the question, that while taking care of the parents, if Allah has given you money, and if you are busy, for example, as a son, you may be going for working outside for doing a job, you may be 10 or 12 hours away from home, your wife is at home, you may be having 4 or 5 children, and if Allah has given you the wealth to take better care of the children, I had said to take better care of the mother, I said you can even keep a servant. But keeping a servant doesn't mean that the son doesn't spend time with the mother. Of course, when he comes home, he should spend every day at least 1 or 2 hours. That doesn't mean that his wife doesn't take care of the mother, of his mother. Of course she has to. But if there are 4 or 5 children, and it's difficult to take care of all of them together, and if the husband has the financial capability, I had said it is good that he keeps a servant. Now, when the servant is appointed to take care of the mother, especially if the mother is very old, she may be more than 80 years old, she may be more than 90 years old, and she may require an attendant 24 hours at the beck and call. So here, if your wife you have 4 or 5 children, and most of them are infants, taking care of both would be extremely difficult. And if Allah has given you the capability, that is the time I said, you can appoint a servant. But appointing a servant doesn't mean that you don't look after your parents. Of course, if you are going for work, if you're busy, you have to spend at least a couple of hours with your parents every day if they're old, especially if they're old. And your wife can spend more number of hours. But even when you keep a servant, your wife who's at home is available. At one call, she'll be available. And she's there to supervise the servant. In no way can you compare this with an old age home. When you put your parents in an old age home, you may go to meet them maybe once a month, or once a fortnight, or once a week, and they will feel very lonely. This is the Western concept. In Western culture, it is common that when the children grow up, they want to be free, they don't want the headache, and they put their parents in old age home. It is absolutely, imagine the pain and the suffering the parents who brought up their children, and now when the children grow up, instead of taking care of the parents, they put them in old age home. So in Islam, there is no concept of old age home. In Islam, there are roles that have been given. There are duties, there are rights, of parents, of children, and we have to fulfill our duties. In the Western world, there's reversal of roles. You find many a time most of the women going out to work. When they go out to work, maybe sometimes the husband is doing babysitting. A mother can take care of an infant much better than the father. Many times we have, most of the time, both husband and wife go out to work and they hire a nanny. And the nanny does the training to the children. Imagine the respect that a woman gets because she is the mother. The Prophet has said that paradise lies beneath the feet of the mother. And what you are doing? You are going out to work and your children are being brought up by nannies. They may teach them wrong things. There is no harm if you have children. You can appoint a servant for your children. But that doesn't mean you can leave your children completely with the servant. If you have 3 or 4 children, you can appoint a servant to look after the children, but that servant would be helping in cleaning the child when he makes a mess, when he defecates, and help in making food. But the main care and training is taken by the mother. Similarly, when a mother gets old, and if you have to appoint a servant, the servant is there, but you are supervising the servant. You cannot compare that with the old age home, and no way can you think also that just because I said you can keep a servant, it means you can keep your parents in the old age home. How can you think of that? A good Muslim, a true Muslim will never think of keeping his or her parents in an old age home. This is the Western concept. And it's a blessing that you are getting an opportunity to serve your parents. That will be your path to Jannah. And if you get du'as from your parents, Alhamdulillah, it will pave your way to Jannah. So in Islam, there is no concept of sending your parents to old age home. This is not permitted. It is the duty of the children to take care of the parents, especially when they become old. And you have to not say off to them. You have to lower your wing of humility. You have to address them with honor and take care till the last breath. Hope that answers the question. The next question. Dear Dr. Naik, I am an Irish academic on Indian matters. I was given your number by Pakistani friends of mine, and I hope you don't mind me writing to you. They told me to contact you as the expert on the Holy Quran. As a devout Catholic myself, can you please answer my question? If the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was such a holy man, why did he marry Aisha and engage with pedophilic actions? Na'udhu. I would be very interested in your answer as I tried to build between faiths. Respectfully yours, and God bless. John Joseph. Brother John Joseph has asked a question that why did Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, marry Aisha? And he consummated the marriage at the age of 9. Was he a pedophilic? Na'udhu. In reply to this question, and Brother John is doing research and he wants to get the communities together so that he can bridge the gap. And I'm very happy with your effort. Inshallah, after you hear my answer, your view will completely change on the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It is very clearly mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 5, hadith number 3896, that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he contracted the marriage with Aisha radiallahu anha at the age of 6, and he consummated the marriage after she had completed the age of 9. And this information is also repeated in Sahih Muslim and various Sahih Hadith. There is no iota of doubt that yes, the Prophet did contract the marriage at the age of 6 with Aisha radiallahu anha. She was the daughter of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, the first caliph of Islam. And after contracting the marriage, she lived with her father, and after she attained puberty, there's a hadith that says after she attained puberty, then she consummated the marriage. She went with the Prophet and stayed with him and consummated the marriage. There's a hadith in Tirmidhi, Jami Tirmidhi, volume 2, hadith number 1109, in which Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, she says, radiallahu anha, she says that I married at the age of 9. After I attained puberty, I married and I consummated the marriage with the Prophet after she attained puberty at the age of 9. There are various hadith. I know that there are some so-called pseudo-Islamic dais or pseudo-Islamic scholars who say no, the age of Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, it was in 9, it was 19, and they give various arguments. They say in the Arabic language it's Ashra and Tesa, 10 plus 9, the 10 was missing, actually it is 19, and various other things. All this is totally nonsense. There is not an out of doubt as far as the age of Aisha radiallahu anha was concerned. The marriage was contracted at the age of 6 and consummated at the age of 9 with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It is mentioned in the Sahihain. It is a muttafiq alayk. It's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. It is without doubt. The sanad is absolutely sahih with the highest accuracy. There are various Sahih hadith. There are also historical records. So as far as those so-called Muslims who say that it is not a fact that the Prophet consummated the marriage at the age of 9 with Aisha radiallahu anha, they are totally misguided, and the knowledge of Islam is very pure. It is very poor. Now coming to the question that how can we reply to non-Muslims or to John Joseph that why did the Prophet marry Aisha radiallahu anha, consummated the marriage at the age of 9? Was he a pedophilic? Nauz billah, Allah forbid. Before I come to the answer, first let us discuss that 1400 years ago, it was common, it was not uncommon that men married women of the age of 9 to 15. It was common 1400 years ago that the men, they married girls between the age of 9 and 15. And there are various examples. If you read historical records, we come to know that Saint Augustine of Hippo, in 350 AD, he married a girl of the age of 10. It's a historical record. We know that King Richard II, he married a girl of the age of 7. Her name was Isabella of France, who later on became the Queen of England. She was the second wife. And the age wasn't actually 7, it was before she reached the age of 7. It is 6 years, 10 months to be precise. Imagine King Richard II married a 6-year-old, 10 months, 6-year, 10 months old girl by the name of Isabella of France, who became the Queen of England. Historical records even say that Henry VIII, he married a girl of the age of 6. There are several, you can umpteen, and all this is very easy. You can Google and you can find and you can verify. Authentic sources. Furthermore, let me inform you that the Church of England, it permitted its ministers to marry women even of the age of 12 till as late as 1929. Till as late as 1929, the Church of England, the ministers were permitted to do the marriage of girls even of the age of 12. And as late as 1983, the canons of Catholic, according to the law of Catholicism, it was permitted that the priest married the brides of the age of 12. Imagine, as late as 1983, less than 40 years before, according to the canons of Catholic, they were permitted, the priests were permitted to marry men to girls even of the age of 12. That means till 40 years before, even the canons of Catholic, the Catholics permitted that the woman or the girl of the age of 12 could get married. It is today recently that we find that different countries have got different age limit. According to India, a girl should be minimum 18 years before she can get married. Same in USA. In USA, without the consent of the parent, the girl should be minimum 18 years to get married. And amongst the 50 states, I'm not talking about the federal territories, the federal states and the territories, according to the 50 states, there are 5 states only which say that even with parents' consent, a girl should be minimum 18 years to get married. That means 45 of the 50 states, 90% of the states of America, they say that a girl below the age of 18 can get married with the consent of the parents or with judicial approval. That means 90% of every state has its own different law. Out of the 50 states, only 5 states, that means 10% of the state, Delaware, New York, and some of 5 states, we say that below the age of 18, even with parental consent or with judicial approval, you cannot marry. Did you know till as late as 1880 in the state of Delaware, the legal age for a girl to get married minimum was 7 years. Can you believe? In United States of America, till as late as 1880, in the state of Delaware, a girl legal age of marriage was minimum 7 years. Now this is nothing but pedophilia, and I'll come to it later on. We'll discuss the meaning of pedophilia. And in California, the minimum age was 10 years. Later on, after 1880s, the laws kept on changing, and then different states had different rules. And in America, without the consent of the parents or without judicial approval, a girl should be minimum of the age of 18. But different states have different laws, as I said. Only 5 states said below the age of 18 they cannot marry, even with parental consent, even with judicial approval. But the remaining 90%, 45 states permit. And different states have different rules. In Maryland, the girl and a boy, both, of the age of 16 with parental consent can get married. And if there is proof of pregnancy, they can marry even at the age of 15. Imagine. That means if you do zina, if you do fornication before marriage, and if you give proof to the authorities that the girl is pregnant, even at the age of 15 you can marry. For age of 16, you require parental consent. If you have proof that the girl is pregnant, you can even marry at the age of 15. Though the American law says any consent given below the age of 16 for sexual intercourse is not counted. It's counted as rape. But if you go for marriage, even the age of 15 is permitted. The laws are contradicting, but this is the law. It's the present law. And I checked it up today. If you see the law of the state of Vermont, it says that with parental consent, a girl can marry at the age of 16, and along with judicial approval, a girl can even marry at the age of 14. In Massachusetts, 18 years is required for a girl to be minimum should be 18 years without the parental consent. With parental consent and judicial review, a girl can even marry at the age of 12. The boy up to the age of 14. Imagine in Massachusetts, even today, in Massachusetts, in the state of America, a girl with parental consent and judicial approval can even marry at the age of 12. In Alaska, with parental consent and judicial approval, a girl even of the age of 11 can get married today. It's officially in the record that a girl of the age of 11 with parental consent and judicial approval can marry even at the age as less as 11 years. Imagine. And let me tell you that out of the 50 states, 27 states don't have any age limit. Out of the 45 states, 27 states have got no age limit. 18 states have age limit, some with parental consent and judicial review, some 17, some 16, some 15, as low as age of 11 in Alaska. But in 27 states, they have no age limit. That means even they can marry below 11, though it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it happens. The court doesn't give permission. But the law says there is no lower limit at all. So officially in Alaska, a girl with parental consent and judicial approval can marry as young as 11 years. And it's common. There are hundreds of thousands of marriages taking place in America. At the age of 11, at the age of 12, at the age of 13, and mainly in Alaska, in Louisiana, in South Carolina. And you can just Google and find out all this. So, the laws differ in different countries. Some country, the legal age is 18 years, some countries 19 years, some country it is 15 years. It keeps on changing. Who's going to decide? In Islam, the legal age for marriage is that once a girl becomes adult, once she reaches puberty, she becomes of marriageable age. Allah says in the Quran in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 6, that you take care of the orphans till they reach the age of puberty. And according to the fuqahas and the majority of the scholars, the legal age for marriage, for consummation of marriage, is after they reach the age of puberty. And the age of puberty keeps on differing depending upon different countries, depending upon different climate, depending upon the diet. And before the age of puberty, you can contract the marriage but cannot consummate it. According to Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, he says even contracting the marriage before the age of puberty is not recommended, unless there is a dire requirement where you know that you may not get such a husband and you contract the marriage. But even if you contract the marriage, when the girl reaches the age of puberty, she has a right of breaking the contract. And according to all the fuqahas, according to all the Islamic scholars, if you contract a marriage before the age of puberty, some allow, some don't allow, but even those who allow, the moment they reach the age of puberty, the girl has a right to break the contract. And the age of consummation in Islam for marriage is that a girl and a boy should minimum be, they should pass their puberty. Now, let us understand what is the meaning of the word pedophilia, the word used by John Joseph. He says, and he asks the question, Nauz Billah, was Prophet Muhammad a pedophilia? First, let me tell you what is the meaning of the word pedophilia. Pedophilia is a psychiatric disorder in adults who have a desire for sexual intercourse with a prepubescent child. Now, prepubescent child means a child who has not reached puberty. So the right definition of a pedophilia is a person who has the desire to have sexual intercourse with a child or with a girl who is less or before she reaches the age of puberty. That is the definition. Once she reaches the age of puberty, And if the man has sex with a girl or a girl has sex with a boy, it is not called as pedophilia. The definition of pedophilia medically is if you have one of the two partners has not reached puberty, it is called as pedophilia. Today science tells us that a girl, she reaches puberty at different ages depending upon the climatic condition of that country. And the range is from 9 years to 15 years. The age that a girl reaches puberty is from 9 to 15 years. I'm a medical doctor. While I was practicing, that is more than 25 years, there are many girls in India who reach puberty at the age of 20, at the age of 10, some even at the age of 9. So today, it's not uncommon for girls to reach puberty at the age of 10, age of 9. Yes, majority, maybe at the age of 13, depending which country they come from. If the climate is hot, then the age of puberty is earlier. And you know, Arabia is a hot country as compared to India or America. So the age of puberty of girls in Arabia is much faster than the other parts of the world. And at the age, reaching puberty at the age of 9 is not uncommon. It's nothing which is abnormal. So pedophilia is only when you have sex with a girl or a boy before they reach puberty. And in Islam, marrying before the age of puberty is prohibited. So in Islam, pedophilia is prohibited. Now when you read the revised definition of pedophilia, some of the sites said pedophilia is having sex with a child below the age of 13, below the age of 12, because they're going to the Church of England, of, which had a restriction that you can marry up to the age of 12. So below the age of 12 is called pedophilia. But the right definition is prepubescent children. Prepubescent girl or prepubescent boy. That means before puberty. So if the girl reaches puberty at the age of 15, having sex with her before the age of 15 is called pedophilia. And as I told you, it is very well established fact that Aisha radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet, she consummated the marriage at the age of 9 and she had already reached puberty. It's her own record. And there are very historical records that she had reached puberty and she was adult. So no way can you call Prophet Muhammad, Nauzbillah, God forbid, as a pedophilia. So Brother John Joseph, your knowledge of English is weak, or your definition of pedophilia is not correct, and neither is your knowledge about historical records, that there are many influential personalities of the world who married girls at the age of 6, at the age of 7, which I disagree with. At the age of 10, okay, fine, if they reach puberty at the age of 10 is no problem. But there are people who married at the age of 6, at the age of 7, at the age of 8. And to reach puberty at the age of 6 is not heard of. So it's abnormal. So you can call Henry VI a pedophilic. You can call Richard II, King Richard II as a pedophilia. But in no way can you call Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Nauzbillah, as a pedophilia. Because it is prohibited in Islam for a man or a woman to get married before they reach puberty. But naturally the age of a boy is 1 or 2 years more when they reach puberty as compared to the females. So your question is answered that Alhamdulillah, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not pedophilic. And let me tell you the history of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the first wife he married was when he was at the age of 25, and Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, was his first wife. She was 40 years old. That means he married a woman 15 years elder to him. Now why would a pedophilic marry a woman who's 15 years elder to him? He was 25, and at a time where people respected him, they honored him, he could have had the best of women, yet he chose to marry a pious woman who was 15 years elder. And only after his first wife died, when he reached at the age of 50, he married at the age of 25, when he spent about 25 years with his wife Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her. Only after she died, which was the most sorrowful year of his life. Only after the first wife died, later on did he marry other women. First, he married Sauda, may Allah be pleased with her, and then he married Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. And as mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and various historical records, that he consummated the marriage. The contract of the marriage took place when she was 6 years, and the consummation of the marriage took place when she was 9 years old, when she had passed her puberty, when she was an adult. Now, why would Anne accept for Aisha radiallahu anha? She was the only wife of his who was virgin. The first wife Khadija also was a widower, and the other wives also, either they were divorcees or they were widowers. So if he was really, like some people blame Nozbillah that he was a sex maniac, and if he was a sex maniac, then why all the wives that he married were either they were widows or they were divorcees. So why would he do this? So historical records prove the other way. Most of his marriages were for some political reason or was for religious reason. And I've given a talk on women's rights in Islam, and I've given the reason for each of his marriages, what was the reason and why he did it. As far as Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, is concerned, radiallahu anha, we know that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, consummated the marriage with her when she was at the age of 9, and she started living with the Prophet when she was at the age of 9. And we know this, that she lived with the Prophet for about 9 years. After that, the Prophet died. From the age of 9 to the age of 18, she lived with the Prophet. And we know that the Aisha radiallahu anha, she was a very intelligent woman, she was a very mature woman, and she had a very good memory, and she alone has narrated no less than 2,210 ahadith of the Prophet. You know, after the Quran, the most important sign, the most important source in Islam is the hadith, is the sayings and the actions of the Prophet. And alone, Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, she alone narrated 2,210 ahadith. And this is only possible. Imagine if she would have married 8 years later, you know, when, as you say, she should be 18. If she had been 18, she would have hardly lived a few days with the Prophet. Because when she was 18, the Prophet expired. So if you follow the rule of 18, she would have hardly lived a few days with the Prophet. So because she lived with the Prophet for 9 years, she heard the Prophet, she saw his actions, she remembered what he said, and she later on transmitted to the Ummah. And historical records show us that she, alhamdulillah, she had no less than 88 scholars who were her students. And she was expert in mathematics, she was expert in Mirath, in inheritance, and many of the Sahaba, that even Khulafa Rashidin, they came and took her advice when they had some difficulty or they wanted a ruling, and she was expert in that. So this is only possible because she married the Prophet at a young age. And this was the main hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that so that through her memory, because she married the Prophet, she could remember and she could tell the world the various things the Prophet did, so that we could follow the last and final messenger, beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I hope this answers the question, John Joseph, and I hope you use this to tell to your Christian friends and tell them that this is a reality, and alhamdulillah, the Prophet was the best exemplary human being that walked on the face of the earth. There's a question that's asked on the YouTube. Ansad S. Gaming. Dear sir, I am a student from India and I'm preparing for an exam. So it is really hard for me to go to the masjid, which is 350 meters, 5 times a day. So can I pray at home? Please solve my query, sir. The question poses that can a Muslim man pray at home, especially during examination, because the mosque is far away. It is 350 meters. So going 5 times a day to the mosque will consume too much time. So during examination, can he pray at home? As far as for a Muslim man, it is compulsory that he should pray 5 times a day in the mosque. It's a fard. And according to Imam al-Dhahabi, a person who doesn't pray in the mosque regularly without a valid reason, it is the 65th major sin. He writes in his book, The Kabair, it's the 65th major sin. So praying in the mosque 5 times a day is compulsory. There are exceptions that if you're sick or if you cannot walk, it's fine. And at the time of the Sahaba, a person who did not come to the mosque, it was understood that either he was sick or he was a hypocrite, he was a munafiq. It was known. That means no one ever missed the salah. So even if you examine them, a request to you would be that you should pray 5 times a day. If it's far away, you have easy option. You can keep a motorcycle, you can keep a bike, and 350 meters would hardly take a few minutes. Hardly anything. I know you think, okay, few minutes going, 2-3 minutes going, 2-3 minutes coming, and the salah, so maybe every time, if you pray at home, you save 10 minutes. So 10 minutes multiplied by 5, you will save about 50 minutes in a day or maybe an hour in a day. So can I not pray at home and study for 1 hour more? My request to you is that for me, I have to pray. If I don't pray salah in the mosque, I find it awkward. It is a requirement for me that I have to pray in the mosque in Jama. Without that, I feel uneasy. If I don't pray in the mosque, I will not be able to study properly. I will not be able to do my duties properly. It is a routine. So I would say that don't try and save your time thinking that you will be able to spend more time in study. What you can do, if really that's the case, what you can do, you can sleep 1 hour less in a day. If you sleep 8 hours a day, you sleep for 7 hours. If you're sleeping 7 hours a day, sleep for 6 hours. But don't try and cut your time of going to the mosque and thinking you'll study more. Okay, start studies a bit early. If you start studying 2 weeks before your exam, you start studying 3 weeks before your exams. Or you either see to it that you stay close to the mosque, so your time is saved, or you get a motorcycle which will make you reach fast. There are various options, but not praying in the mosque is not an option. My advice to you would be that once in a blue moon, if you miss praying in the mosque with a valid reason, whether you're sick or if you're traveling or if there's an emergency that comes, it's acceptable. But you say all the 5 salah you won't go because the examination is there. Examination is not an exception at all. It's not a valid reason for not praying in the mosque, because here you're undergoing the examination for the akhirah. Allah says in the Quran in Surah Mulk chapter number 6 and verse number 2, Alladhi khalaqal mawta wal hayat. It's Allah who has created death and life to test which of you is good indeed. So you want to let go the examination of the akhirah? This examination in the world is a billion times more important than your examination of your school or your university or your college. So you're not a good businessman. The most important examination is the examination of this world for your akhirah. It's more important than any other examination. And the most important deed that Allah will ask you on the day of judgment is your salah. So my request to you would be that see to it that you offer your salah 5 times a day. What you can do, fine. Besides your first salah, you can only pray the sunnat-e-muakkada and not pray the sunnat-e-ghair-muakkada. Possible. If you really feel that you want to save more time, and if you say for some of the salah, I will not offer sunnat-e-muakkada also during my exam, it is permissible, but I would not advise you. Even during exam, my request to you would be offer more of muakkada at least. The muakkada salah is very important. Offer your tahajjud and your 12 rakah muakkada, but once in a while you miss some. If it's an emergency or just before the exam, there's no problem, because you can miss the muakkada for a reason. It's permitted. Hope that answers the question. There's one more question asked on the YouTube. That Ibn Hassan, Assalamu alaikum. I am from New York. Is it permitted to work as a security guard for a Hindu temple? As far as the question is concerned, can a Muslim work as a security guard for a Hindu temple? And the answer is no. Allah says in the Quran in Surah Ma'idah, chapter number 5, verse number 2, that help each one another in birr and taqwa, in righteousness and in virtue and good deeds. But do not help one another in sin and transgression. That means you cannot help one another in sin and transgression. Now, when you do the duty of a security guard of a temple, in temple, what happens? People do idol worship, they are doing shirk. It is the biggest sin in Islam. You cannot work security guard for any haram activity. You cannot be a security guard for an alcohol company. You cannot be a security guard for a commercial bank which deals with riba. And our beloved Prophet said that all activities dealing with alcohol, whether you transport it, whether you get it, whether you sell it, it is haram. Similarly, any activity associated with riba is haram. Shirk is the biggest sin. So if being a security guard for an alcoholic company or for a commercial bank, riba based is haram, then security guard for a Hindu temple is a bigger haram. You can very well do security guard for non-Muslims who are not doing haram activity. For example, if there is a non-Muslim who owns a shop of clothes or shop of grocery and you want to be a security guard, that's permitted. But for a temple, because in temple shirk takes place, associating partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it is a major sin. And if you act as a security guard for a major sin, even that job becomes a major sin. It is not permitted for a Muslim to be a security guard of a temple or of a church or any non-Muslim places of worship where shirk is happening. Hope that answers the question. The next question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Abdur Rahman. I am from Chechnya and I am a student of A levels. Can a person in debt donate money if he has small debts like 100 rubles, 100 Russian rubles? Jazakallahu khairan. May Allah give you a long and a healthy life. The question posed by Abdur Rahman is that can a person who is in debt donate or give in charity if the debt is small, maybe 1,000 rubles, and 1,000 Russian ruble is somewhat equivalent to less than 15 US dollars. Less than 15 US dollars. So can you give charity if your debt is a small amount of less than 15 US dollars? The ruling for giving charity for a person who's in debt is that if your debt, the due date is later on, maybe a few weeks later or few months later, and you know that during that date where your debt is due, you will be able to give that amount, then you are permitted to give charity now. if the date of death is later on, few days, few weeks, or few months later, and you know that after giving this charity, yet you can pay the debt which is due a few days later, or few weeks later, or few months later, then you are permitted to give charity today. But if you know that if you give charity today, and when that due date later on, few days later on, or few weeks, or few months later, you will not be able to give that debt on time, then it becomes haram for you to give charity. Because paying debt on time is fard and giving charity is mustahab. Even if you are zakat, you have to give. There is no zakat for a debtor. So zakat doesn't become fard on you if you are a debtor. So zakat doesn't become fard. And normal charity is mustahab, that's also not fard. So nowhere can you do a mustahab, and because of the mustahab, if you are doing a haram act, it is prohibited to do that mustahab. So here, if you are in debt, and if you know by giving charity you will not be able to fulfill the debt which is later on, then giving the debt is haram. But if you know that the debt is there, and the time for debt is yet remaining, few days, few months, few years, or few weeks, and you know that after giving the charity, when the date of debt is due, you will be able to pay the debt, it is permitted, it is mustahab, you can give this charity today. If your debt is immediate, and if you say that can I give charity, if you have enough money to pay the debt which is immediate and give charity, no problem. But if you know by giving this charity today, my debt which is there today, I will not be able to fulfill it, I will not be able to pay it, then that debt is fard. You have to pay the debt, and giving the charity becomes mustahab. If you give charity and you are unable to pay the debt, then giving that charity becomes haram. So now coming to your question, the debt is very small, 1,000 rubles. Can I give charity? If the debt is later on, and by giving this charity, when the time of debt comes, you can pay that 1,000 rubles, no problem, give this charity, it is mustahab. If your date of debt is immediate, and if after giving this charity yet you have 1,000 rubles to pay that debt, you can give the charity. But after giving the charity, if you cannot pay the 1,000 rubles, then giving that charity becomes haram. So I hope this clarifies and very clear that don't do a mustahab act and involve yourself in haram. Because paying debt on time is important, and there are various hadith which say that a Sahaba who did not fulfill his debt and he died, the Prophet did not read the Salatul Janazah of that Sahaba. And the debt was very small. Until another Sahaba came and paid his debt, then the Prophet read the Salatul Janazah. Imagine the Prophet did not even pray the funeral prayer of a Sahaba who had debt. Unless another Sahaba came and paid his debt, then the Prophet prayed the funeral prayers. Therefore, keeping a debt, if you die, is a major sin, and if you have the means, if you pay charity and don't pay the debt, that means you are giving charity with somebody else's money, and that charity will not be accepted. Because it's somebody else's money, you're not giving that money, you're giving charity. Charity is only acceptable if it is with your money. And the Prophet is very clear with that the charity is only accepted if it's your money, it's independent, not with other people's money. Hope that answers the question. The next question. May peace, mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on you. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Nibras Alam from Kolkata, India. I am 18 years old. Having a commercial bank account is very common here. Without it, one cannot do official work properly. Here an individual doesn't have an alternative solution of Islamic bank. Then what do I do? Will it not be an overburdening matter to follow? After all, my intention is not to loot others' wealth. I can give the interest back to the poor with some extra. If I don't engage in commercial banking system, then what is the alternate solution? Please give me advice. Brother Nibras Alam has posed the question that he lives in Calcutta, India, and there is no Islamic bank in India, and he wants to do business, and to do business, you should have a bank account, and I'm aware of that. So his intention is not to eat other people's wealth, so what is the solution? Can he open in a conventional bank which has interest, and then whatever interest money is there, he can give in charity? It is not permitted that you open in a conventional bank and give the money in charity, though some of the scholars say it's permitted. I say it is wrong, because the Quran is very clear cut that did not involve yourself in riba. Taking riba is also haram, so to give somebody else, first you have to take the riba and then give in charity. So according to me, even keeping in a conventional bank and taking the interest and riba and then giving charity, it is not permitted. If you get riba unknowingly or out of compulsion and then you give in charity, that is permitted. But knowingly you are keeping, it's not permitted. Coming to the question, what is the solution? If Islamic banks are there, the best solution is you open an account in Islamic bank. But I'm aware in India there are no Islamic banks, so what is the solution? The solution is that you open a current account in any conventional bank. When you open a current account, the current account is free from interest, it's free from riba. Don't open a saving account, don't open a fixed deposit. If it's a current account and for business, all the more reason current account is preferred. So my advice to you is that in any conventional bank, you can open a current account which does not involve interest. And I've been living in India for many years, I've been doing many businesses, and as you are aware that there is no Islamic bank. So what did I do? I opened a conventional bank, but it was in current account, in which there was no interest. So if no interest is there, there is no riba, there is no haram. If you keep your money in a savings account or fixed deposit, you are signing a document saying that I want interest. So once you are agreeing of taking interest, that itself is haram. Later on, if you give in charity, that will not solve the problem. That's a major sin. In current account, you are not signing any document that you are keeping your money and gaining an interest. So the best advice for you would be open in any conventional bank, which is riba based, no problem. But see to it, it is a current account which does not involve interest, and you do your business, inshallah, it will be permitted. The next question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Alia Muawiyah, Alia from Nigeria. What is the exact time of praying Salatul Duha? This question was asked to Sheikh Muhammad Salih bin Uthaymeen, that which is the correct time for praying Salatul Duha, and he replied that 15 minutes after the sun rises, from the time of sunrise, 15 minutes after sunrise till 10 minutes before the sun reaches its zenith. So the time for Salatul Duha, it begins 15 minutes after sunrise up to 10 minutes before the sun reaches its zenith. That is a wall. In between this time, it is called as Salatul Duha. Anytime. But the best time, the Prophet said in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 2, hadith number 1745, that the best time to pray Salatul Duha is when the camel feel the heat of the sand. And that is after the midpoint, from the sunrise to the highest point. So from sunrise to the highest point, after the midpoint, when the sun is become the hottest, that's the best time to offer Salatul Duha. If you offer immediately 15 minutes after the sun rises, or after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes after sunrise, it is called as Ishraq. That means praying after the sunrise. It is Salatul Duha, but if you pray that time, it's called Ishraq. But the best time is after the midpoint of sunrise and sun at the zenith, when the camels find the heat maximum of the sun. And as far as Salatul Duha is concerned, the Prophet said, pray 2 rakat and as many times in multiples of 2. But the Prophet mostly prayed 4 rakat, 2 plus 2. The Prophet, Salatul Duha, most of the times in the hadith, he offered 2 plus 2, 4 rakat. There was one occasion which is mentioned before Fateh Makkah, he offered 8 rakat. But the ruling is you can offer 2 rakat and as many multiples of 2 rakat as possible. But the sunnah of the Prophet was 4 rakat. So better if you offer 4 rakat 2 plus 2 after the sun reaches the midpoint from the sunrise and the zenith of the sun. Hope that answers the question. The next question. My name is Muhammad Nawed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am from Jabalpur, India. Why Allah made non-Muslims so intelligent and successful in this world? The question posed was that why did Allah make the non-Muslims so intelligent and successful in this world? The question to be asked is, what do you mean by intelligence and what do you mean by success in this world? According to Jami' at-Tirmidhi, volume number 6, hadith number 3681, our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he prayed to Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala that let one of the two rajulain, one of the two men, give them hidayah, make them accept Islam. And the two men which the Prophet prayed for, let one among the two, one was known as Abu al-Hakam. He was given the title, the father of wisdom. His name was Amr Hisham. His name was Amr bin Hisham. He was given the title of Abu al-Hakam, father of Hikam. And the other person was Umar bin Khattab. May Allah be pleased with him. And Allah chose Umar bin Khattab, and who later on became the second caliph of Islam. So the Prophet prayed, let among these two men at least one accept Islam, who Allah loves more. So Allah gave hidayah to Umar bin Khattab and he became a Muslim and later on became the second caliph of Islam. Now why did I quote this hadith? I quote this hadith because Amr bin Hisham, he was given the title of Abu al-Hakam, the father of wisdom. But this person, he was so intelligent, he was given the title the father of wisdom, but he did not accept Islam. So the Prophet called him Abu Jahl, called him the father of ignorance. So what use is intelligence if you cannot understand Tawheed? If you cannot understand the oneness of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, if you cannot understand that there's one creator in this world, that all human beings in the world should worship only one creator. So the Prophet changed his title from Abu al-Hakam, the father of wisdom, to Abu Jahl, father of ignorance. So depends upon what do you mean by intelligence. This was 1400 years ago. Let me give you an incident of Albert Einstein. You know, Albert Einstein was a scientist, supposed to be very intelligent. He was one of the top scientists that the world has ever produced. In the 19th century, when Albert Einstein goes to UK, he was traveling in a bus. And next to him, there was an Indian who was sitting. And while traveling, Albert Einstein thought to himself, let's have some fun. So he told the Indian that if I ask you any question, and if you do not reply, you will have to give me £1. And at that time, £1 was a great amount. But if you ask me any question, and if I don't reply, I will give you £1,000. Now, £1,000 of that time is much more than millions of pounds of today. So Albert Einstein, being a very intelligent person, he said, let's have some fun. But he did not know the rule that you should never mess with an Indian. So, Indian says, okay, I agree with you. If you ask me a question and if I cannot reply, I'll give you £1. If I ask you a question and you cannot reply, you give me £1,000. And Albert Einstein was very happy. So the Indian said, okay, you can start. So Albert Einstein said, okay, I start. So he asked the Indian, what is the third law of motion of Newton? He told him, can you tell me Newton's third law of motion? And the Indian, he could not reply. So Albert Einstein said that Newton's third law of motion is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the Indian took out £1 and gave it to him. Now Albert Einstein told him, now you ask a question. So the Indian asked the question to Albert Einstein, that can you tell me exactly how many birds are there now in UK? Albert Einstein was shocked. He started thinking, how will I come to know how many birds are there in UK? He thought for a while. The Indian again asked him, can you tell me the exact number of birds now, at present, that are in UK? Albert Einstein thought for a long time. Then he took out £1,000 and gave him. £1,000 at that time is more than £1 million of today. Then Albert Einstein was curious. He told him, can you tell me how many birds are there exactly now in UK? The Indian took out £1 and told him. He said, I don't know. He took £1. So who was intelligent? The Indian takes out £1 and gives it to Albert Einstein. The rule is if I cannot answer, I'll give you £1. And he gives him £1. And Albert Einstein was shocked. That means, who was more intelligent amongst the two? The Indian. So the moral of the story is, don't mess with an Indian. And I'm also an Indian. Alhamdulillah. Then the Indian says, sir, can I ask you one more question? Albert Einstein says, no. So then he says, you asked me a question, I did not answer, I gave you £1. I asked you a question, you did not answer, you gave me £1,000. Then again you ask a question, I gave you £1. Now it is my turn. Albert Einstein says, no, I don't want to continue. So imagine, between the two, more intelligent was the Indian. So intelligent is subjective. So today, your statement is that why has Allah made the non-Muslims more intelligent and more successful? What do you mean by intelligent? Today a person is intelligent, he may be a scientist, but he doesn't agree that God is one. What is the use of the intelligence? And a non-Muslim is a person who doesn't believe in Islam, is a person who does shirk, who worships false God. So intelligent, limited sense, worldly sense, but not in the Akhirah. And Allah says in the Quran in Surah Mulk, chapter number 67, verse number 2, Alladhi khalaqal mauta wal hayata. It's Allah who has created death and life to test which of you is good in deeds. Now coming to your second part, that why has Allah made the non-Muslims successful? Now what do you mean by successful? Successful again is an Arabic terms. You may say that who's successful? According to me, At the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was the most successful person. Today you may think a person who's rich is successful. Today you may think that Bill Gates is successful or Jeff Bezos is successful, but not according to me. There was a list of top 10 richest men in the world, and it started with, Ambani, rich. Then number 8 is Bill Gates. Then number 8, 9th was Ambani. Then number 3 was Bill Gates. Then number 2 was Jeff Bezos. You know who was the most who was the most richest man? A Muslim who offers 2 rakat of sunnah before the Fajr Salah. Because the Prophet said, anyone who offers 2 rakat sunnah before the Fajr Salah, that is more valuable than the earth and the wealth in it. So for me, offering 2 rakat Fajr Salah before the Fajr Salah sunnah is more valuable than the earth and the wealth in it. So what do you mean by success? Do you mean money? Can you buy Jannah with the money? Allah says in the Quran that the kafirs, those who reject faith, on the day of judgment they will say, we would not mind giving you the full earth and the wealth in it in exchange for Jannah and the Prophet. And Allah would say, it's too late. So what is success? Is it money? Allah says in the Quran in Surah Al-Asr, chapter number 103, verse number 1 to 3, Wal Asr, Innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu, wa amilu salihati, wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. That by the token of time, man is verily in a state of loss, except those who have faith, those who have righteous deed, those who exhort people to truth, and those who exhort people to patience and perseverance. So according to Surah Al-Asr, which is also called as Rahe-Nijat, the path to salvation, it says that human being is in khasara, is in loss, except those who have 4 criteria. Number 1 is Iman, that is faith. Number 2 is righteous deed. Number 3 is exhorting people to truth. And number 4 is exhorting people to patience and perseverance. So these are the minimum 4 criteria required for anyone to enter Jannah in the Akhirah. That's the path to salvation. Success. So success is having these 4 criteria, and wealth is not mentioned. So everything is subjective. What do you mean by success? Imagine you are a very great scientist, you are intelligent, but you do shirk. You are sourcing partners with him. You may be a rich man, you may be Bill Gates, you may be Jeff Bezos, but you are sourcing partners. What will happen in the day of judgment? What will happen in Akhirah? All these people, they would be in hell. A successful man is those who have got Iman, who have righteous deed, who exhort people to truth and exhort people to patience and perseverance. Hope that answers the question. The next question. Hi, Dr. Zakir Naik. I am Osama from Tunisia. I am a Muslim and am 16 years old. I always dreamed of being a physicist like Newton, but after watching your lecture, The Purpose of Life, I could not find with my goal aspects that would satisfy God Almighty. On the contrary, I fear that my research will be used in wars and destruction. With this goal, I do not want to gain fame from it, but to explore the secrets of the universe. What do you see? Do I change my goal? What profession do you recommend for me? Thank you so much. The brother from Tunisia has asked a question that he wanted to become a scientist like Isaac Newton. But when he saw my talk on what is the purpose of your life, he was convinced with it, and he realized that he becoming a scientist will not be able to satisfy Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will not bring a person close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he will not be able to fulfill his purpose of life. And that is the reason he decided not to become a scientist. His advice is that what should he do now? Since you have heard my lecture, what is the purpose of life? And I've clearly said in that lecture, Allah says in the Quran in Surah Dhariyat, chapter number 51, verse number 56, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that Allah has created the jinn and the men not but to worship Him. So the primary duty of the men and the jinn is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Regarding a question that what should he do now? What profession should he take? And I've said this earlier today, I've said in many of my answers before, that the best profession that a Muslim can choose is profession of a da'i. Allah says in the Quran in Surah Fussilat, chapter number 41, verse number 33, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَالَ مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Who is better in speech than one who invites to the way of thy Lord, works righteousness, and says that I'm a Muslim? So the best profession according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the glorious Quran is the profession of a person who calls people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is the profession of a da'i. What was the profession of the beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? It was to convey the message. It was that of a da'i. And after the messengers have exhausted and no other messenger will come, our beloved Prophet said, it is the role of the da'is and the scholars to continue spreading the message. So the best profession is that of a da'i. Regarding a question, you wanted to become a scientist like Isaac Newton, and what should you do now? Becoming a scientist like Isaac Newton is not haram. Learning science and becoming a scientist is not haram, but will you be able to fulfill the purpose of your life is very important. Now let us understand the pros and cons. For example, you said you want to become like Isaac Newton. First I'll ask you that how good are you in physics? People want to do many things, but they come to know that they aren't good in it just because you heard someone or you thought it's very good, but you may not be practically good. So first I would like to ask you that how are your marks in physics? What is your score? How much have you got out of 100? Is it 95? Is it 98? Is it 99? If it's really very good, that means you're good. If it's not, then why waste your time? So coming back to your question. If you are really good in physics and you want to be a scientist, what are the chances that you will become a scientist like Isaac Newton? You know, there are billions of human beings in the world that have come from the start till today. How many scientists are there? There are millions of scientists that have come in the world. How many Isaac Newton do you have? Only one. So the chance that you will become like Isaac Newton is 1 in 10 million, 0.00001%. 0.0000001%. Okay, you say that I want to be among the top 100 scientists, maybe a scientist who has got the Nobel Prize. So if you count all the number of scientists who have got Nobel Prize, and there may be 100 scientists in the world. The chances that amongst the millions of scientists, you will become one like 100 would be again 0.00001%. How many scientists really make a difference to the world? Maybe few hundred or few thousand. Again, the chances is 0.001%. So if you become a scientist, you should be good first. The chances you become Isaac Newton is 0.00001%. A chances that you become one of the top 100 scientists like getting Nobel Prize is 0.001%. The chances you become a scientist that will be beneficial for the world is again 0.00%, 0.001%, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000. So if you become a scientist first, it's difficult. The chance is so less. And if you don't reach that level, what is the advantage? What benefit can you do to the world? What benefit you can do to the ummah? Now compared to a da'i. Imagine if you become a da'i or a scholar like Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. Fine, there are millions of scholars. You will become one like Shaykh al-Islam, or millions of da'is, it's 0.001%. Or you become like a da'i, like Sheikh Ahmad Didat. Okay, there are thousands of da'i. the chance to become like Ahmed Didat is maybe 0.001%. Or you may just become a normal dai. Now if you compare to a scientist like Isaac Newton or a dai, whether it be like Sheikhul Islam Ibn Taymiyyah or Sheikh Ahmed Didat, or like a normal dai, even if you are a normal dai, the lowest in the world, as long as you're propagating Islam, the Quran and Hadith, it will be multiple times better in your akhirah than becoming a scientist like Isaac Newton. Because the dawah profession is far superior. The lowest dai is better than the best scientist of the world. So my advice to you would be that first you should see how good are you in physics, and then if you have the acumen and if you have the ability, yet I would say first become a dai, and then if time permits you or if you have the ability, you have the acumen, you can also become a scientist. But number one is don't forget to be a good dai. To become a good dai, see to it that you learn dawah, see to it you join an Islamic university which is authentic, based on Quran and Sunnah. See you do your bachelor's, see to it you do your master's, see to it you do your PhD. Now while doing this, if you have the acumen, the capability of simultaneously doing physics, if it's your passion, I've got no problem. But number one is dawah. For example, my daughter, my youngest daughter, she has a passion for physics. But she knows the purpose of life. So now she is doing a graduation in Princess Noura University in Riyadh. It is one of the best universities for the women in the world. And one of the sections is the Islamic section. She'll be finishing within a couple of months. In 2 months, she'll be finishing, inshallah, the graduation course. But besides that, she's also Hafizul Quran. Every day she revises about 3 juz. During examination, maybe less. On average, 3 juz a day. During Ramadan, it is more. She's Hafizul Quran. She'll be finishing a bachelor's Islamic studies. She'll be doing her master's, inshallah. After finishing a bachelor's, she's doing her dawah activities. She's good with the pen. She has a flair for writing. At the same time, while doing graduation on site in Riyadh, she is even doing bachelor's in physics online in Open UK University. Now, Open UK University doing online bachelor's is very expensive. But she has the ability. She gives most of the time for the Islamic studies and for dawah and for hifz. Few hours, maybe in a week, she may be giving for a bachelor's in physics. The moment she finishes the examination of Islamic studies, she gives the examination of bachelor's. Now because she has the capacity, she has the memory, she has the acumen, she wants to do physics and I gave her permission. But if she just said, I'll do physics, I'll not do dawah, I will not do bachelor's in Islamic studies, I would not be happy. I would not permit her. My son, if he says, I want to become a doctor because you're a doctor, I would say, you're foolish. Why do you want to spend 5.5 years in doing medicine? And a dai is much more superior. Allah gave me hidayah late, and I'm happy that I was a doctor. That was Allah's plan. But today you don't have to become a doctor and a dai. You can specialize in Islam. So mashallah, he finished his graduation from Jamiatul Imam University in Riyadh. Now he's doing his masters in the IIUM, International Islamic University of Malaysia. Why should you do medicine? But if you really have the flair, if you have the acumen, if you have the capacity, like my daughter, and you like to do both, no problem. But if you don't have, best would be become a dai. Try to become the best. If not the best, even if you become medium, even if you become the lowest level of dai, it will get you ajr in the akhirah much more than becoming a scientist. Hope that answers the question. There's a question asked on the YouTube by Shahidul Islam. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. My name is Shahid Yusuf Lone. Can I eat something from my Hindu neighbors? By the way, I am your biggest fan. As far as eating from your Hindu neighbor is concerned, as long as the food you're eating is not haram, it is not breaking any rule of the Quran and Sunnah, it is permitted. As long as the food that you're eating from the neighbor, it is not alcohol, it is not pork. If it's non-veg, mutton, or if it is beef, see to it, it should be zabiha. If it is not, then you cannot. If it's a veg food, yes, you can have it. So as long as the food that you're eating from your neighbor is halal, it is permitted for you to have. If it is haram, like pork or alcohol or non-zabiya meat, it is prohibited. Now my question is that while you're eating food from the non-Muslim neighbor, you should first be careful that are you being influenced more by him or he being influenced by you. You cannot say that you are having food and interacting with the neighbor and both are same. There's no influence. There has to be one person who is influencing more. So if you are influencing your neighbor more, then it is good. Continue the relationship. You can have food. You can give him food as long as it's not haram. But if he's having more influence than you, he's having more influence over you, I would say be careful. If he's having more influence over you, then there are chances that you will adopt his culture. You may adopt part of his religion and it will take you away from Islam. So while having relationship with a non-Muslim, always see and confirm who is having more impact on whom. So if you're having more influence on a non-Muslim friend, continue the friendship. If they give you food, have food as long as it is not haram. If it's haram, then you cannot have it. It is prohibited. Or for example, if they make of some festival, maybe Christmas sweets or Diwali sweets. So in these sweets of festival, mostly it involves shirk. And it is prohibited for you to have food. Or if they're giving you food, even if they have not taken the name of God, it is promoting the religion, it is not advisable. So if it's not involving festival, if it's not involving shirk, if it's not involving haram products, if all these criteria are fulfilled, there's no problem in you having food from your non-Muslim neighbor. Inshallah, this will be the last question before we end the session. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. Muhammad Shafiuddin from India. I have a cousin who has become an atheist. I tried to change him. I sent him some of your videos to answer his questions. He asks, if you believe in the existence of God, what difference does it make to have faith or not? If I don't believe in God, will I be dead? You believe in God and you have 2 legs, 2 hands, 2 eyes, working just fine. I don't believe in the existence of God and everything works just fine to me. You live and die, I live and die too. What difference does it make? This is the question he asked me. Inshallah, I'll be waiting for a reply. The question posed by his cousin who has come close to atheism is that what is the difference in an atheist and a Muslim? You are a Muslim, you believe in God, you have 2 eyes, you have 2 hands, you have 2 legs, you live and you die. The other person is an atheist, he has 2 eyes, he has 2 hands, 2 legs, he lives and he dies. Even though he doesn't believe in God, he lives and he dies. So what's the difference? What's the difference between you and the atheist? Why should a person believe in God? Allah says in the Quran, and a Muslim believes in that, in Surah Mulk, chapter number 16, verse number 2. Alladhi khalaqal mawta wal hayata. It's Allah who has created death and life to test which of you is good in deeds. And for a Muslim, the path to success is given in Surah Al-Asr, chapter number 103, verse number 1 to 3, which says, Wal Asr, innal insana fi khusr, illa alladhina amanu, wa amilu salihati, wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. That by the token of time, man is well in a state of loss, except those who have faith, those who have righteous deed, those who exhort people to truth, that do dawah and islah, and those who exhort people to patience and perseverance. So these are the minimum 4 criteria for any human being to go to Jannah. This is the belief of the Muslim. Now, let us compare a Muslim to an atheist. And hypothetically, I agree with you that there is an atheist. He has 2 hands, he has 2 eyes, 2 legs, he lives and he dies. A Muslim has 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 legs, he lives and he dies. What's the difference? Atheist doesn't believe in God, Muslim believes in God. There is no difference at all. Now let us analyze both the cases separately. And there are 2 situations. One is life living in this world, and one is life after death. Now there is an atheist who believes there is no God, and he leads his life. He may have alcohol, he may do zina, he may cheat, he may rob, he may not do, whatever it is. And he thinks he's enjoying life. A Muslim, he doesn't have alcohol, he doesn't cheat, he doesn't gamble, he's very honest, he thinks he's right, and he thinks the atheist is wrong. Atheist thinks he is right, and the Muslim is wrong. Now, as far as this world is concerned, there was a survey done that which type of human beings are the most satisfied, or which type of human being are the happiest. And this survey was done by a Christian in the University of Germany. And according to that survey, it said that those human beings who believe in God are more satisfied and more happy than those human beings who don't believe in God. So in short, this survey done by a non-Muslim and in the University of Germany, it proved that when the survey was done in 27 different countries, everywhere it showed that the human beings who believed in God, they were more happier than the atheist. The level of happiness kept on changing in different countries depending upon the situation, depending upon economical condition, depending upon the facility. But in that same country, most of the time, those who believed in God were more happy than those who did not believe in God. Amongst those who believed in God, the Muslims were more happier than the Christians or than the Hindus. So this survey was done by a non-Muslim. So the question is, the person who is an atheist, he does not believe in God, but he is not happy. As compared to a person who is a Muslim who believes in God, he is more happy. What is the difference? This is the difference. Who says that? A scientific research. So, as far as the life in this world is concerned, undoubtedly the Muslim is benefiting more than the atheist. Now coming to the next scenario, life after death. In life after death, there can be 4 scenarios. 2 scenarios for the atheist, 2 scenarios for a Muslim. An atheist who doesn't believe in God, he dies. And after dying, he realizes there is no God. So fine, there is no plus, no negative. But if after dying, the atheist realizes that there is God, what will happen to him? In his next life, he will be in hell. For the Muslim, he believes in God. After dying, He realizes hypothetically there is no God. We know there is God. I have given a talk on is the Quran God's word? And I had given in Kuala Lumpur this talk in 2016. The talk was for more than 2.5 hours and the question and answer session was 4 hours. The full program was the longest public program of mine in the world. It was for more than 6.5 hours. And the talk was for more than 2.5 hours in the Bukit Jalil Stadium, where there were more than 50,000 people. And there I've proved undoubtedly in the talk, is the Quran God's word, that the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I proved it logically, I proved it scientifically. So without doubt I can prove the existence of Allah. But hypothetically, agree we don't know. So when a Muslim dies, and hypothetically I agree with you, if there is no God, what will happen? Nothing. He will be the same position as the atheist who believe there is no God. But if there is God, what will happen? He will go to heaven, he will go to Jannah. So in life after death, there are 4 scenarios. For atheist, when he dies, if he realizes there is no God, no benefit for him, no loss for him. But in the Akhirah, who is happy? A Muslim is more happy. So who's better of the two? The Muslim. If after that he realizes there is Allah and I've proved it scientifically, everyone will come to after that, inshallah. What will happen? He will be in hellfire forever. So he is a loser in this world as well as in the hereafter, double loser. For a Muslim, if he dies and if he realizes there is no God, which is not the case, but hypothetically, yet he is benefiting in this world. He was at least more happy, according to the research, than an atheist. But after he dies, he realizes there is God, and that is a fact which I have proved in my talk and my answers. What will happen? He benefits. In the Akhirah, he'll be in Jannah. He'll be in Jannat Firdaus, the highest level, for eternity. So he's benefiting in this world. He's more happier than an atheist. In the next world, he's in Jannah or in Jannat Firdaus. So the question is, an atheist doesn't believe in God. He has 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 legs. He lives and he dies. What is the difference? A Muslim has 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 legs. He lives, then what is the difference? The difference is, for a Muslim in this world, according to scientific research, a Muslim is more happier than an atheist, and a Muslim is more happier than the other people who believe in God as compared to other religion. It's a scientific research. In the Akhirah, I've proved in my talk scientifically about the existence of life after death, that the Quran is the word of God. In hereafter also, a Muslim, he will be in Jannah. He'll have all the blessings, he'll have a peaceful life, all the benefits. The atheist, he will be in Jahannam, he'll be in hell, he'll be burning in hell. So the difference is, we benefit in this world also, the Muslims, and we benefit in the next world also. Inshallah, give this answer to your cousin, and inshallah, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may he comes back to Islam, and he comes on the straight path, so that inshallah, all of us inshallah can go to Jannah. This was the limited time we had for today, and this was the last question that I could answer. Inshallah, till we meet again after 2 Saturdays, that is not the next, after that, till we meet on the 20th of November. Till then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Fine? Done? Oh. First time I'm feeling that I should. Feeling very